Welcome to Lunch with California Common Cause, our monthly opportunity to chat with our members and others interested in building a better and more inclusive California democracy. I'm Jonathan Mehta-Stein, the Executive Director at California Common Cause. Thanks for joining us. We have a great live stream for you. I hope you're all doing well. I want to start off by mentioning that we're doing a better job nowadays of keeping our members and our followers updated on our work via our email program. So we invite you to sign up for our emails and our updates at commoncause.org/California. At our website, you can learn, of course, about our work, but just right there in the front, you'll be able to sign up for updates and stay updated on our work going forward. This month's live stream is all about redistricting. We'll be showcasing a couple simple online mapping tools that can be useful to you as you engage in the state and local redistricting processes that are now ramping up. So where does redistricting stand now? Well, the State Citizens Redistricting Commission is doing its work. It is holding a series of what we sometimes call business meetings, where it is doing the startup work of running a statewide commission with enormous and weighty responsibilities. It is hiring staff, it is hiring legal counsel, it is determining its language access plans, it is doing a whole bunch of what one might call technical or administrative work to lay the foundation for its community of interest hearings and testimony opportunities going forward. You can learn more about the commission and you can request a presentation for your community organization if you lead one or work with one at wedrawthelineca.org. They have a webinar on redistricting basics coming up next Tuesday. You can also find details for that on their website, wedrawthelineca.org. They also have an email list you can sign up for if you want to hear about hearings for when those start up. It will be opportunities, presumably all over the state, for you to come and testify about what state and congressional district lines should look like in your neighborhood. You can sign up for email updates on upcoming hearings, again, at their website, wedrawthelineca.org. You can also find a list of upcoming meetings. If you're interested in the business meetings and the startup work that they're doing now, you can find a list of their upcoming meetings and you can live stream their meetings on their website, wedrawthelineca.org. I bookmarked that website and maybe you should too. Local redistricting is not quite so advanced at the current time. Most cities and counties are either just beginning the process of starting up a commission or thinking through the beginning stages of a redistricting process that does not use a commission, i.e. allows the city council to redraw city council lines, allows the county board of supervisors to redraw county supervisor lines, or so on. And some cities and counties, frankly, haven't even done that early work. There is a delay of the census data, which will be used in the redistricting process. If you've been following census and redistricting news, and good for you if you are, you probably know that redistricting data is delayed many, many months. And right now, the Census Bureau is anticipating that it will be released on September 30th of this year. That's much later than anticipated. And a number of cities and counties, I think, are taking their time standing up their redistricting processes because they think they have more time. Now, one thing to know is that some redistricting hearings will actually occur before data is released because, and this is not a bad thing, it's nothing to be suspicious of. Cities and counties and the state want to hear from community members about what they think their communities of interest look like. And they can do that work before redistricting data comes out. So we're going to talk more about communities of interest, and what that term means in just a few minutes. But the point is that you can gather input from the community about what district lines should look like, and then you can get census data on redistricting and demographics, and then you can pair them together to begin drawing draft maps and then ultimately a final map in every jurisdiction. So what that means is that you may see hearings in which you can come testify about what your city council lines or school district lines or county board of supervisors lines or your state and federal lines should look like in July, August, September, before that data comes out, and then again, even more after that data comes out. So how can you get engaged? The first thing I would do is go to our website, commoncause.org/local redistricting 2021. I'll repeat that, commoncause.org local redistricting 2021. It is a hub of resources, tools, materials, and trainings that will help you get educated about the local redistricting process. We have a redistricting 101 document. We have a template for giving community of interest testimony. We have a legal guide that will be up in the next few weeks. We have a train the trainer PowerPoint presentation. We have a number of other resources. And additionally, I want to draw your attention on commoncause.org/local redistricting 2021 to two video trainings. One is meant for city and county clerks that you can also view, and it will give you really in-depth information about how redistricting processes are run. It's a 3-hour training that we held earlier this year that touches on a variety of topics in the redistricting space and uses a number of redistricting experts from around the nation. The second is a training we did earlier this month in which I talked about redistricting law, which will be interesting to you, at a high-level primer. And then 2 of my colleagues, Kiana Asamonfar and Dan Vicuña, demonstrated 2 simple online mapping tools that can be used for you, by you, to map your community in the local redistricting process. So that's a perfect transition to our guests today, who are Kiana Asamonfar and Dan Vicuña, who are going to show those tools to all of us today. So Kiana Asamonfar is a program manager at California Common Cause. She works on policy advocacy and implementation related to voting. Hi, Kiana. Voting, redistricting, campaign finance issues, and other democracy-related topics. Kiana's based in LA. She has led our election protection work incredibly capably for 4 separate elections. She has led the fight for independent redistricting commissions in cities and counties around California, and she leads our local redistricting work. Hi, Kiana. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jonathan.
Dan Vicuña is Common Cause's national redistricting manager. He conducts research and provides legal communication and coalition support for Common Cause state organizations. Hi, Dan. In state organizations' campaigns to implement redistricting reform. He's also involved in redistricting litigation. He manages Common Cause and ally amicus briefs in cases that seek to protect citizen-centered redistricting reforms, advance constitutional challenges to partisan redistricting, and in other litigation. Folks, thanks to you both for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to say hi, not on mute. So, hey.
Well done. Okay, let's talk a little bit before I'm going to ask both of you to demonstrate, share your screen and demonstrate some easy to use redistricting tools, mapping tools that can be used by community members in the redistricting process. But I just want to spend a few minutes talking about what a community of interest is. Now, we often give presentations and we'll talk about how a community of interest is really central to the redistricting process, and we'll describe it. And then we'll get a question. Can you just clarify a little bit more about what a community of interest is and make it as clear as possible or as concrete as possible? And we'll do that. And then we'll get a follow-up question, which is like, I'm still not totally getting it. Can you explain what a community of interest is? I think that in part it's because this is a term that is not used in any other moment in anybody's life outside of redistricting. Dan, can I ask you to start? Can you define what a community of interest is and share why you think perhaps it feels so nebulous to folks?
Yeah, we think of a community of interest as being a group of people who should be kept together for the purposes of fair representation because of any number of interests they have in common. They could be a group of folks that are maybe a language minority. They could be folks who live near some body of water, so they have similar environmental interests. People who maybe use same kind of transportation routes, maybe an agricultural community or an urban community. Really just a community of all many different types, and it's defined pretty broadly, I think intentionally, in California law to ensure that people have a way of kind of identifying others around them who have similar interests, such that they need the kind of the same representation on the halls of power to make sure those interests are being looked out for in at city council level and state legislature or what have you.
Kiana, who defines what a community of interest is in any particular city or county?
Yeah, I think to Dan's point, the reason the definition is so broad is because it's up to community members themselves to kind of decide what the defining characteristics are of their communities. And it can be really a range of factors that they feel resonate most with them and their neighbors and their communities, and they can use that to describe their community when talking to their local government or to the state redistricting commission for purposes of fair representation.
Right. So if anyone ever asked us, so how do communities of interest sort of apply in my town? Like what should I be looking for to identify the communities of interest here? The answer is that's up to you. Every single set of residents define their own communities of interest for their city council or for their county board of supervisors or what have you. So Dan, you mentioned California state law. Here's the definition of a community of interest in California state law. A community of interest is a population that shares common social or economic interests that should be included within a single district for purposes of its effective and fair representation. Right, so we're talking about folks who might share common interests in schools or housing or crime or transit or health conditions or land use, environmental concerns. They might be people who share common social or civic networks like churches or temples or nonprofits or community spaces or service providers. They could be, as Dan noted, a language community or racial and ethnic group or someone that shares a cultural history or immigration history, for example. Or it could just be sort of, people who share socioeconomic characteristics, a lower income part of town that isn't well served by city services, that's on the, physically on the wrong side of the railroad tracks, for example, right? I mean, that could be a community of interest. It is a diverse and varied term that, as Dan noted, is flexible on purpose. And a community of interest is sort of whatever it is where you live. There is no one clear black and white answer. So I'm going to ask you to demonstrate these mapping tools. And what you're going to be doing is showing people how to map their community of interest, right? And then how to describe their community of interest, label their community of interest, and then submit it to their local redistricting body, whether it's the city council or a county board of supervisors or a local commission, or actually, Kiana, to your tool, to the state commission itself, right? Okay, who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Great. Kiana, go for it.
So the first tool we're going to show is called Draw My CA Community. It was created by the statewide database to submit community of interest testimony and maps directly to the state Citizens Redistricting Commission. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, do you all see this? Okay, great. So the URL is drawmycacommunity.org. And this is really a tool for you to use to kind of give the state commission some building blocks, which is your community, to create the state legislative and congressional maps. So when you go onto this URL, you'll see the first page, there's an option to do a tutorial. I'll be giving you a tutorial today, but the website can also walk you through that. The first option is to either log in or continue as a guest. You have both options. If you log in, you can create an account and kind of keep track of various drafts that you've created. Let's say you want to go in and kind of play around with the tool and maybe create some drafts, but want to revisit them later, or maybe get some feedback from your community members on how those drafts look before you submit. Creating an account is kind of a great way to keep track of all of your drafts. So I would recommend that, but you can also continue as a guest and familiarize yourself with the platform without creating an account. So we're going to go ahead and log in. And you'll note up here that the tool is offered in multiple languages. So that's available for your use. We can start down here. You'll see I have some drafts here, and I also have a submission that I made. But let's go ahead and start a new map to kind of see how the tool works. So right now, as you zoom in, you'll see the state of California. You can kind of use your cursor to zoom in and out, and also move your mouse to move around. Right now, these yellow lines that we're looking at are the county boundaries. If you go to number 2, draw your community, I'm going to show you a few of the features that you can use to kind of navigate this tool. So the first that I like to start with is the base map style. There are different options that you can use to kind of get a visual of the state and the community that you want to draw. I personally like the colorful one. There's also terrain. Both of them kind of look kind of similar to Google Maps in that you can identify key kind of establishments or parks, for example. All those kind of features pop up on the map, which I think is a helpful reference. But you have 4 options there for navigating the map. And then again, you can use your cursor to zoom in and out. So the drawing layer is the next sort of feature. And as you zoom in and out, you can use default. So let's say we zoom out a bit, the default will be kind of, you'll see the county boundaries, but as we zoom in further, you can see city boundaries. Going in further than that, we'll go into census tracts. And then if we go further down, zoom in more, we'll see census blocks. So you can leave it on default and use the zoom to navigate it, or you can kind of select a preferred drawing layer and kind of lock that in. So we've locked it here on census tracts, and I can zoom in and out and move around. And these are the boundaries that we'll see. There are a few options for navigating the map. So right now we're on the move map feature, so you can just kind of click around to move around. Let's say we wanted to go ahead and start drawing my community of interest. So let's say we're here in Koreatown, for example. We can add by clicking. So each census tract that we click will be added to my community of interest. We can also use this add by rectangle. It's kind of like a drag feature. Let's say I created a shape and it selected all of the census tracts within that shape. I can also do the same with a freehand sort of shape. And then I can remove areas by either clicking or dragging. So these are some of the tools that you can use to create your community of interest. And let's say I like what I've selected here as my community of interest. I think this sort of boundary kind of describes, or I guess encompasses my community. And I want to send this to the commission for them to use as a building block when creating their maps. So now that I've created my community of interest, there are a few other fields that you have to fill out before submitting. The first is you give your community a name. So in this case, let's say Koreatown residents. And you can use the remaining fields to kind of describe the key characteristics of your community, what you think are binds your community together, and what the kind of key characteristics are that you want the commission to be aware of. So in this case, for example, let's say that we are Koreatown residents who use Metro to commute to downtown Los Angeles. And let's say we're all parents of students who attend Robert F. Kennedy Community Schools, which is, as you'll see, included in the community of interest map that I selected. So I've given my community a name, I've described my community. I can also use additional fields to share more about my community or describe the nearby areas that we want to be in the same district as, or maybe nearby areas that we think we are very different from, that we should be kind of split into different districts. You can use these fields to say more about your community and the surrounding area. So let's say I like this description, I like this shape that I've drawn, and I want to go ahead and submit. I can do that by clicking this button. It asks you to review and make any final changes before submitting. And let's say we wanted to move forward and submit. You'll see this confirmation page, and you have the option to indicate your name and contact information in case the state commission has questions about your what you submitted and wants to follow up with you. And then you just check these two boxes. You can opt into email updates, and that would enable the submit button. And then once you click that, your COI, your community of interest, is submitted directly to the state commission. So let's say that you use this tool, you really like the description that you put together for your community, you really like this map shape that you've created on this tool. And let's say you feel that this community that you described for the state commission is also something that you want to share with your local government. Let's say the LA City Council or the or for LA County Board of Supervisors districts. So let's say that I wanted to download this and share it with my local government. You do have the ability to do that. So if we go to export, it gives you the option to download the community of interest that you've created. And you can also create you can select a specific format. So you can download it in PDF or shapefile. Because I haven't submitted this yet, one of the other options isn't available. There's also equivalency file that you can download, and that's enabled once you actually submit to the California State Commission. But that way you can download what you've created and send it directly to your local government for them to consider when they're drawing their maps. And with that, I think that's an overview of this tool. And we can hand it over to Dan to share more about another tool that's available for you all to use in drawing your community of interest.
Thanks, Kiana. That was great. Just can you restate for everybody the name of the tool and the URL?
Yes, it's drawmycacommunity.org.
Okay. And again, that is the one that is being used by the State Redistricting Commission. But as Kiana mentioned, if you really love the community of interest that you drew and submitted to the State Commission, you can download your community of interest map and description, and you can submit it in your local redistricting process as well.